Hello, and welcome back to the C1 Cybersecurity Posture Assessment. This video will cover questions 39 through 48. Does the district auto-lock workstation sessions after a standard period of inactivity? Score 0 if your organization does not auto-lock workstations after a standard period. Score 1 if your organization auto-locks most workstations after a standard period. Score 2 if your organization auto-locks all sessions after a standard period. Score 3 if your organization auto-locks all sessions after 15 minutes or less. And 4 if your organization auto-locks all sessions after 15 minutes or less and 2 minutes or less for mobile devices. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answers before continuing. Does the district categorize or classify sensitive data? Once the sensitivity of the data has been defined, a data inventory or mapping should be developed that identifies software accessing data at various sensitivity levels and the enterprise assets that house those applications. Ideally, the network would be separated so that enterprise assets of the same sensitivity level are on the same network and separated from enterprise assets with different sensitivity levels. If possible, firewalls need to control access to each segment and have user access rules applied to only allow those with a business need to access the data. Score 0 if your organization does not classify sensitive data. Score 1 if your organization classifies sensitive data, but it is ad hoc and undocumented. Score 2 if at least 25% of sensitive data is classified. 3 if 25 to 90% of sensitive data is classified. And 4 if all sensitive data is classified and the process is well documented and reviewed annually. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Does the district use encryption to protect sensitive data in transit? This could be data accessed across the network, data that is emailed, etc. Score 0 if your organization does not encrypt sensitive data in transit. Score 1 if your organization encrypts some sensitive data in transit. Score 2 if your organization encrypts at least half of sensitive data in transit. 3 if your organization encrypts the majority of sensitive data in transit. And 4 if your organization encrypts all sensitive data in transit. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Does the district have a media sanitation process that is applied to equipment prior to disposal, reuse, or release? This applies to hard drives, SSD drives, and all forms of removable media. Note that some printers or copiers may contain storage devices that require sanitation as well. Score 0 if your organization does not have a media sanitation process. Score 1 if your organization has an informal process with no documentation. Score 2 if your organization has a formal, undocumented process that is understood by staff. 3 if your organization has a formal, documented process that includes keeping a record of media sanitation, but is not strictly enforced and is less than 100% effective. And 4 if your organization has a formal, documented process that is strictly enforced and record of all media sanitation is retained. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Is there a process in place, i.e. data loss prevention tool, to detect the unauthorized removal of sensitive data? Score 0 if your organization does not have a data loss prevention in place. Score 1 if your organization has implemented data loss prevention on some systems. Score 2 if your organization has implemented data loss prevention on half of your systems. 3 if your organization has implemented data loss prevention on almost all systems. And 4 if your organization has implemented data loss prevention on all systems that contain sensitive data. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Is all system data backed up on a regular basis? There's been an exponential rise in ransomware over the last few years. If an attacker encrypts an organization's data and demands ransom for its restoration, having a recent backup to recover to a known trusted state can be helpful. Score 1/2 point if some systems are backed up, or 1 point if all systems are backed up. Add 1/2 point if some backups are automated, or 1 point if all backups are automated. Add 1 point if backups are performed at least weekly, and add 1 point if sensitive data is backed up more often. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Does the district maintain an inventory of user accounts managed in the enterprise? This inventory should include the person's name, the username, start and stop dates, and department. Accounts should be validated regularly. Score 1 if your organization maintains an inventory of admin accounts. Add 1 point if your organization also maintains an inventory of regular user accounts. Add 1/2 point if all required data elements are recorded. Add 1/2 point if all accounts are validated at least annually. And add 1/2 point if admin accounts are validated at least quarterly, or 1 point if admin accounts are validated at least monthly. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Are backups protected by physical security or encryption when they are stored, as well as when they are moved across the network? This includes cloud and remote backup services. Score 1 point if backups are encrypted at rest. Add 1 point if backups are encrypted in transit. Add 1 point if backups are secured with limited access. And add 1 point if a copy of the backup is stored off-site and offline. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Does the district maintain an inventory of all sensitive information stored, processed, or transmitted by the district technology systems, including those located on-site or at a remote service provider? Score 0 if the organization does not maintain an inventory of sensitive data. Score 1 if your organization maintains a partial inventory of sensitive data. Score 2 if your organization maintains an inventory of most sensitive data. 3 if an inventory of 100% of sensitive data is maintained by the organization. And 4 if 100% of sensitive data is inventoried and the inventory is updated at least annually. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Does the district routinely test restore procedures? Elements of good restore test procedures include that they're performed consistently on a quarterly basis, whenever applications change significantly, whenever application data changes significantly, when new applications are installed, and the test should be, of the minimum, an entire folder with subfolders. Score 0 if your organization does not test restore procedures. Score 1 if your organization seldomly tests restore procedures. Score 2 if your organization consistently tests restore procedures plus some of the listed elements. 3 if your organization tests restore procedures quarterly plus most of the listed elements. And 4 if your organization tests restore procedures quarterly plus all of the listed elements. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. You are finished with questions 39 through 48. The next video will be Cyber Posture Assessment Slides 06. You can start that now or take a break and continue with the posture assessment later.